Hello and welcome. This is Bijan Hushiar. This internet network is configured with correct IPv4 addressing and there is end-to-end connectivity. The router is only configured with IPv4 addresses on both G00 and G01 and a hostname. No other configuration is done on the router. The objective is to use AAA service to create radius server for centralized authentication. Obviously, if you only have one router in your internet network, there is no need for a radius server. But if you have a number of routers, you want to centralize authentication, creating a radius server. As I mentioned, the router has just basic configuration of hostname and IP addresses. Let me access the command line interface of the router from the console PC. And then I'm going to go to privilege mode by typing in enable, no password is required, nothing has been configured. I'm going to go to global configuration mode, and then I'm going to create a secret for privilege mode, enable secret, I call it and sec. This is saved in the local database of the router, and it is being used for local connection when you do not have a radius server. We are going to configure radius in a way that authentication is done through that one. Even accessing to privilege mode is done through the credential saved in the database of the radius server. So I'm going to just create a username called admin local with a secret of admin local -seg, username admin local, secret admin local -seg. All these things are created locally in the local database of the router. If I configure telnet or SSH, this username and secret is going to be used to remote access to the router. If that user wants to go to enable mode, then it has to use that secret, as long as there is no AAA and no radius service. Well, let me just go ahead and create a domain and generate an encryption key, because those are required for SSH, IP, domain -name, call it abc.com, abc.com. I've created a domain. Now I'm going to generate the key using crypto key generate using RSA. I'll be prompted with the default key length of 512. I'm going to make it 2048 as far as the length of the key is concerned. Okay, now I can just go ahead and configure SSH line VTY 04 login local, login local, login local. Okay, exit. Remember, I haven't configured AAA or radius yet. All this configuration for authentication is kept in the local database of the router. Let me go ahead and access client PC1 and try to SSH to this router. SSH dash lowercase l. The username is admin local. The IP address of the router is 192.168.1.254. I'll be prompted for a password. Admin local dash sec that I created for admin local. And then I want to go to enable nsec n dash sec. Remember, I can use the admin local password and n-sec because I haven't configured AAA and radius server yet. After I create the radius server, then the credential in the database of the radius server is required to SSH to the router, to go from enable mode to privilege mode, and even to access the console of the router, if I configure all of those things, which I'm going to do. So let's go back to the router and start configuring AAA with this command. AAA. By the way, AAA stands for Authentication, Authorization, and Accounting. You know that. New dash model. Okay. AAA Authentication. Enabled default. Default group radius. This command, AAA Authentication, enable default group radius, will tell the router from here on, anybody who wants to go from user mode to privilege mode, enable mode, must use the credential in the database of the radius server. N-sec is not going to work anymore. Press enter. Now I'm going to do the same thing for console connection. The command is AAA Authentication login default. Default group. Radius local. So this command tells the router anybody who wants to get connected to the user mode of the router must provide credential that he or she has in the database of the radius server. So AAA Authentication, login default group, radius local. I'm going to do the same thing for SSH. The command is AAA Authentication, login SSH underscore radius group radius. To connect to this router using SSH, the credential that user has in the radius server must be provided, otherwise router is not going to allow it. There you go. Then I'm going to introduce the radius server to the router. I'm going to make this server the radius server. The IP address of it is 192.168.2.1. So I'm going to introduce it to the router by this command. Radius server AAA dash server. Supposedly that's the name of the server, uh, but for the packet tracer purpose, the IP address is important. Notice that the mode changed. Address IPv4 192.168.2.1. Address IPv4 192.168.2.1, which is the IP address that I have assigned to the Radius server. And then after that, key, which means secret password, that must be used between R1 and the Radius server for R1 to be authenticated by the Radius server. And that one I'm going to configure as rat-sec. Okay. That's it. Exit. Now I'm going to tell the router from here on, do not use your local database for console and SSH with following commands: line con 0 login authentication default, login authentication default, exit. As far as SSH is concerned, line BTY 04, login authentication, the name that we assigned, SSH underscore radius, login authentication, SSH underscore radius, exit. That's it. The router is configured. Well, let's go ahead and configure the server. For the server, we have to create users and that are going to be able to connect to the router. We go to Services tab, we select AAA, we make sure it is on. What are the clients of this? Who's the client of this server? The client name is R1. The client IP address is 192.168.1.254. The secret between them we configured as rat-sec. As far as the server type is radius, we are going to add. This is one of the IP addresses of the router. The router has two IP addresses in our case, or you may have other routers in your internet network. So I'm going to add the second interface IP address of the router 1 as well, R1 192.168.2.254. Secret is the same, rat-sec. The type is radius. If you had other routers, you would add their IP address and the secret in here. Then I have to create users, set up users. I'm going to create a user called rat user1 with a password of rat user1 -sec added. Let me double check if the spelling of everything is the way that I want, rat user1 -sec. Then I'm going to create another one, rat admin with the password of rat admin dash sec, rad admin dash sec, added. Very well. Or you can make a remote client or anything that you. There you go. The server is configured. Now let's go ahead and remote access to the router one. Let's go ahead and exit from this one. This is okay. We want to SSH. SSH. Remember, we were able to successfully log in with SSH to the router using admin local1. Let's see if we can. Password admin local dash sec. It's not going to allow us. Admin local dash sec, because there is no such user created in the AAA server. So let's go ahead and use the other user, rad user 1. Okay, the secret for this guy was rad user dash sec. Oops, rad user 1, rad user 1 dash sec. We are accessing the router's user mode. Let's see if we can go to enable mode. Enable. Ask for the user. Let's see if we can pretend we are admin local 1, admin local. It was admin local. Password admin local dash sec. It wouldn't allow us. But let's use the rad user 1. Unfortunately, you don't see a password was rad user 1 dash sec. We can access the privilege one. So all the authentication to access the router, even to access the user model, to access privilege model, to SSH to it, must be performed based on the credential that I created on that server, not the local database of the router. This configuration, that configuration is not going to work anymore. This configuration and this configuration are going to be allowing us to access the router and navigate from user mode to the privilege mode of it. Let's go back to the privilege mode of the router, and let's perform a command: show AAA sessions. Total sessions list since last reload 3. We did 3 times. Okay. Unique ID 8, username radius 1, IP address that user 1 is connecting to this router is this one, and we can track that user. We authenticated that user, and we know that that user is connected, and we can track it this way. So that's the use of AAA and Radius server. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video and you found it informative, please don't forget to recommend it to others who may be interested. Thank you.